Hey folks, welcome to episode 6 of the Deeply Devoted podcast, a ministry of the E-Free Church of Bemidji, Minnesota. My name is Eric, and I am one of the pastors on staff here at E-Free Bemidji. And here at our church this coming week, we have a whole lot of things going on. Perhaps it might be the most important week of the year, arguably one of the most important weeks of the last 100 years. That's because we are celebrating our church's 100th anniversary this weekend. And so my guest today on the podcast is Terry Hewitt. Terry is serving as one of the members of our 100th anniversary celebration planning committee. And today on this podcast, we're going to preview the events happening this weekend, but we're also going to take some time to consider why our church is celebrating this big milestone. There's a lot to talk about on this episode, so let's get right to it. Terry, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me on, Eric.
Well, Terry, I want to start with maybe something more that hits more at home, just more personal. I want to ask you about when you started coming to E-Free Bemidji. What brought you here, and really what's kept you here?
Good question. I have been here for many years. I came in the fall of 1985 when I took a job teaching at Bemidji High School. Mark Watland, who was my kind of discipler at college at St. Cloud State University, he had actually gone to Oak Hills for a couple of years prior to going to St. Cloud State. And so when he heard I was coming up to Bemidji, he said, check out the E-Free Church in Bemidji. And so I did that, and I've been here ever since. I think that there's two main things that have kept me here. One of them is it really seems like the pastors, the staff, even the congregates stay centered on the Word of God, and they don't get caught up in peripheral topics and stuff. And, of course, the other thing is I've developed a lot of good relationships, good friends here, and that's kept me here as well.
Excellent. Yeah, Terry, I've gotten to know you a little bit over the last 6 years I've been here. I think the first year I was here, maybe it was the second year, we did that life group at your house, and that was fun. And, Terry serves in a lot of capacities here at the church. I'm sure you've been asked to do all kinds of things over those years. But somehow you got roped into this 100th anniversary committee at some point. And Terry, why should we take the time as a church to celebrate like this? Why should we celebrate a milestone like a 100th anniversary?
Well, first of all, the first reason that everybody should take time to come to this event is because we've spent thousands of hours getting ready for it.
It feels like it, yes.
But more seriously, I love the beginning of Hebrews 12. After Hebrews 11, where it's talking about all these great people of faith, from Noah to Abraham to Moses, David, and more. And then chapter 12 starts out, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us cast off everything that hinders us and the sin that so easily entangles us, and run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, author and perfecter, etc. I look at that in the same way that we have such a great cloud of past leaders and people in this church that have set an example for us in this community and how they've served the community. And I think it's helpful for us to look back and see, some of the great things that were done, some of the things that the church went through in order to, just as, it says in Hebrews, in order to run with perseverance or run with endurance. If they did this and this happened to them, that gives us encouragement to go forward when we have some of those things happen.
Yeah. And I suppose there's nothing magical about the number 100 in terms of celebrating. We could have done this last year, or we could wait till next year. And yet there is something about a 100th anniversary, or if you think about a wedding anniversary, a 50th wedding anniversary, there's something special about marking that milestone and thinking through all that's come to that point. Now, a lot of us, myself included, we've only been here for a very small fraction of that 100 years. There's not a lot of our folks here that have even been here for half that amount of time. And folks like myself, I've been here about 6 years. Terry, is this event that we're planning, is it really more just for those long-timers or former members, or how can folks like us that have been here only a short time take part in this?
Well, it's absolutely for everyone, young and old, longtime members, new members, men, women. There's something for everyone. All the events that we have going, some of them are going to be fun for those of us that have been here a while, because we're going to get to see some people coming back that we haven't seen for a while, et cetera. But the events in no way are skewed towards people that have been here a long time. I think it'll be entertaining and a lot of fun for everybody involved.
Yeah, there's a variety of things. Sometimes I even, as part of the planning here, I've got to go back to the list and remember all the things that are happening between Thursday and then that'll culminate really on that Sunday celebration, Sunday morning, and then even into Sunday evening. Lots of opportunities for all kinds of people to be involved there. Early on in this process, though, as the team started to think through, well, what is this weekend going to be all about? What is it going to look like? What is it going to feel like? Came up with this theme of remember, reconnect, and recommit.
Right.
We start with that idea of remembering. And again, it depends on how long you've been a part of this church, but even this past couple of days, I've been reflecting on some of the memories of even the last couple of years. And it's been interesting as time's gone on to stop and think, oh yeah, I lost track of that. And now that's been 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Terry, what are a couple of significant memories that you have had of your time here at E-Free Bemidji?
That's a good question. I have many significant memories. I remember I decided, since I had only been baptized as a baby, I decided to get baptized again, and so I did the baptism in Lake Marquette at one of our summer picnics that we had many years. We'd have a picnic right at Oak Hills on Lake Marquette. So I remember that. I remember going to men's retreats. We used to go down to Chaminade, and men's retreats were good. I remember being supported by the church, various missions trips I went. In fact, I went on missions trip 3 times to Poland. And so I remember the activities and the way that the church kind of helped me originally before I was married, and then my family after that, to go to Poland, making pierogies and stuff to kind of help people remember to support us and stuff like that. So, and then finally, more recent memory of seeing my daughter married in this church 3 months ago.
Yeah, so not that long ago.
Yeah, so even some of those memories are very recent.
Yeah. And it's good to reflect on those memories. And when we think about remembering, I'm sure that when we gather together over this celebration weekend, a lot of people are going to share those stories of, I remember when this event happened, or when this part of the building was built, or these life events, weddings and funerals and all kinds of things there. But part of that remembering is not just remembering the highs, but sometimes even remembering some of those difficult seasons that we've gone through as a church over the years. Terry, why are maybe some of the tough times worth remembering as well as the good times? And I don't even know if you can think of an example of one that might be worth remembering.
Yeah, there have been some tough times, obviously. I remember when we it was a challenge when we were trying to decide whether or not we were going to stick with just two services that were identical type services, or whether we were going to do a more traditional worship and contemporary worship. And there was a lot of contention back and forth. And so, I mean, there's been various times where we just had to come together as a church and come to an agreement on a difficult topic. But one thing I think about is when I was a math teacher at Bemidji High School, I'm retired now, but I used to joke around with my students when we were getting close to an upcoming test. And I told them to not think about it as a test, think about it as an opportunity event. And it was their opportunity to show me what they know. And I think we can view difficult times as opportunity events. We get the opportunity to lean on Christ. We get the opportunity to see Him work through us. Get the opportunity to see Him work through interpersonal relationships in our church, and the opportunity to see Him help us persevere and kind of recenter our focus on He who's the author and perfecter of our faith. Back to some stuff from Hebrews 12 again.
Right.
So
I think that's a great way to look at it, as the opportunity. And in the moment, it doesn't feel like that.
Right.
That there's a tough time, there's a tough season, or as you're saying, maybe even some very tough decisions about the direction of ministry, things like that. I was just reflecting this week on early 2020.
Right, COVID.
We don't love talking about it and keep going back to it, but talk about a challenging time. I have these vivid memories, in fact, of that Friday. It was a Friday the 13th in March, and Pastor Jerry and I were saying, do we need to cancel services on Sunday? And it was just so early in the process. And I remember some of that almost feelings of panic. And yet on this side of it, I don't know that I'd want to do it again. Right. But there are definitely things when I look back and remember, your word opportunities, there were things that came out of that where the Lord really gave us some opportunities.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so really to have that perspective on some of these things. So I'm hoping that as people gather this weekend that we share some stories about even the difficult times and really remember how the Lord brought us through.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. As we celebrate His faithfulness in the good ways, we celebrate it even in the tough times. Yeah. So we're also, in addition to remembering, it's this theme of reconnecting. Terry, just even thinking through some of the events of the weekend, how are these events going to help us reconnect as a church? And then maybe just even on a personal level, are there particular people that you are really looking forward to reconnecting with?
Yeah, so there are so many great events coming up this weekend, from getting to know our global partners on Thursday night to watching a fantastic presentation about the comparing the events of the church and the events of the world over the past 100 years. It's going to be fun to see how that all has come to play, and the carnival type atmosphere that we're going to have on Saturday for all the kids, as well as the dessert night where we just sit down and talk to people that maybe we haven't talked to. So all of those kinds of events, hearing from 4 different speakers on Sunday morning to the whole event ending up in prayer. I mean, from that fellowship to the prayer that's just all bristling with the word reconnect. We're connecting in many different ways. And I'm personally looking forward to seeing Fred and Roberta Martin again. I haven't seen them for a while, and they were so much a part of this church for so long that I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people that would say the same thing. I know there's a lot of people that folks are hoping to reconnect with. I'm thinking about some of our global partners that are going to be in town. folks that have moved away from the community that are coming back.
Right,
It almost
right.
feels like a homecoming or a family reunion or something like that.
Yeah.
But yes, to be able to visit with the Martins, I think we're all going to have to carve out our 5 minutes with Pastor Fred and Berta, and
definitely.
it'll be good though. What are some ways then that this celebration this weekend is also going to be an opportunity for us to recommit? So not just remember and reconnect, but this idea of recommitment. Why did we include recommitment into this?
Well, I think that early on, when the people that started our church initially started it, it was an outreach to the community. It was a chance to just be an example of God's faithfulness to us, and to bring that to other people that didn't know Him. Mm-hmm. And so I think that to be true to the founding of this church as a community outreach, we want to commit to doing that again. And of course, we've got some things that we've been committed to for many years now, like our adopted people group. So we're going to be re-signing a document to recommit to having them as our people group that we are going to continue to pray for and go when possible.
Yeah.
Also, I think that there's just many different things that we can think about recommitting to when we spend that Sunday evening in prayer. That will be there will be a lot of different topics that we can think about. Yeah, we need to recommit to this and recommit to that. I think there will be a lot of things that we will be praying for, following the Lord's leading in that respect.
Yeah. I'm hoping that really comes through, because I think that's a unifying factor for all of us, regardless of how long we've been a part of this church. Right. So even if you've been here 6 months, there's an opportunity to recommit to what we're doing as a church.
Right.
Even in our as this overlaps a lot with our strategic plan that we're rolling out now, and thinking about what's next for us as a church, and are we moving in the right direction?
Right.
I don't think it's any coincidence that these things are happening at the same time. So I do hope that people will recommit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I don't know. When did we start this 100th anniversary plans or committee? I mean, we've been doing it a number of months, and some of you have been doing it a lot longer than even I've been a part of it. So, yeah.
We kind of started thinking about it maybe in March, a little bit before March, but we didn't really start doing anything until probably April.
Okay. But at least 6 months here of work.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been a lot of work, and we probably should have started a little bit earlier. But yeah, we've been doing it for a while. I do think that the people that we have on our committee have just done an outstanding job of thinking through things. Some ideas that we had initially, we just haven't had time to put through. Yeah. But the people on the committee have really spent a lot of time researching the history and writing up programming for the weekend, and contacting outside businesses to try to help, and contacting people that used to attend our church years ago. I mean, all that, there's been a ton of work put in.
Yeah. So any advice, Terry, that you would give to the 125th or 150th or 200th anniversary committee, should the Lord allow us to have those someday?
Well, I would say get Laura Engelstead and Robin Hewitt on the committee. They've done the most work. So if they're still around, then get them. They may say no, but I would say it's amazing how much work both of them have put in.
Yeah.
And then just like I said before, start early.
Yeah.
It's a lot more work than I thought it was going to be.
For sure. Well, I'm hoping that, kind of living in this digital era, we've been recording a lot of things. We've been recording videos, and we're recording this. It'd be nice to be able to hand all of this material off to somebody, even 25 years from now,
right.
Let alone 50 or 100. And if anything, just to be able to preserve some of that. But, I'm excited to look and see whether it's old photographs or old minutes from meetings and things like that, sort of the archives of the last 100. And hopefully now we can think in terms of how do we contribute for the archives of the next 100.
I think it's important for me to tell everybody that Laura Engelstad actually is going to, she put together a whole update of our history. So there will be a document available that is in print with some pictures in it that has the whole 100 years of the history. So
I'm looking forward to reading that.
Exciting.
I think we're sort of printing those up as we speak and just even putting some of the final touches on it. But that'll be a real nice keepsake for a lot of folks here.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good. Well, Terry, one of the things I like to do on this podcast that we've done so far is kind of change the topic a little bit. This is the Deeply Devoted podcast. It comes out of this idea of here at our church, we're becoming deeply devoted followers of Jesus together. Right. And so one of the things I like to ask is, Terry, what's one thing that you have been blessed by lately that is deepening your devotion to Jesus?
I've had the opportunity this fall to help with the crew students at Bemidji State University. And probably about 3 weeks ago, I gave a talk. I just decided I'm going to do a talk on setting your mind on things above. And you probably know this as a pastor, but sometimes when you prepare a talk that you feel led to give to students, God has a way of just showing you, you need, this is important for you.
Yes.
And so I often get up in the morning now and I think about that. I think, okay, through the busyness of this day and everything, think about things above. Think about what Jesus did for me. Think about my eternal life with him and, keep that as a way to keep everything in perspective as I go throughout my day. So I would say that, just thinking about the sacrifice that Jesus made on the cross and that eternal relationship that I have with him and that eternal life that I have through him is something that God has brought to the forefront of my mind.
Yeah. What an opportunity that is when you can teach. So many times that's been true of just how the Lord uses that. And maybe it's just because you're soaking in that material and you're meditating on it, but then, okay, Lord, I get it. I'm the one that needed to hear this message, and hopefully other people benefited from it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Great. Thanks for sharing that, Terry. Well, that'll probably about do it for this episode. Maybe in 25 years when we do this again, we'll get Robin on as well and have her share her perspective if she is part of that committee 25 years from now. But this has been a great opportunity to visit with you, Terry, talk about the 100th anniversary. For those folks that are listening, if you want more information about all of the events, probably the best place to go is on our church website. So you just go to efcbemidji.org/100 and you'll be able to see all the list of events there. Come to as many as you can. I think we got one shot at this for a while, and so make the most of it. Pray for this event too. If you're listening to this, be in prayer for all these things, for those that are coming from distances to come and be a part of this. It's really going to be a great celebration. So thanks for listening to this episode, and we'll do another one next week.